Good morning, evening, afternoon, everyone. My name is Mark.
And I'm Zoe.
And we are the Board Adventurers coming at you at the end of our two-player month with a pretty special list for both of us. It's our top 10 two-player games of all time. So in a caveat to what we're doing here is we looked at, I don't know if you did that, but we looked at two-player only games. And we played as many as we could up until this point. We even did some reviews earlier this month. We now are going to give you guys a list of what our favorite two-player games are up until this point. So in terms of, say, your list, did you use Pub Meeple as well?
I did use Pub Meeple. And just to clarify essentially what you said in terms of two-player only, not games that are best at two-player, something like Marvel Champions
or Unmatched.
Unfortunately. They're talking about games that are two-player only max.
Yeah, we tried to stay very strict to that two-player one or like, it'll say like that two-player max list.
Yeah. And in terms of like ordering my list, like we did for like our top 10 last year, always use Pub Meeple. It just works for me, and it's kind of enlightening for what I believe is best.
Right.
It's usually hard for me to kind of rank, but like Pub Meeple really helps out, and yeah, that's what I utilize.
Yeah, and also like we don't have the ability to play every single two-player game out there.
Yeah, we play a lot.
So there are some possible holes that we will mention at the end of this video.
Yeah.
But this is the best 10 that we have as of right now. In terms of a crossover, do you believe we're going to cross over? I'm going to say yes.
Yes, because we played a lot of these games together.
Yeah, exactly. How many do you think?
I'm going to guess 5.
All right, I was going to say 5.
Yeah.
I think, I don't know. I think there's an obvious 5 for me that I think we're going to cross over.
Yeah, same. I think there's games that are obvious that I like more than you like, and then vice versa as well. But there's going to be some... I think definitely our crossovers are going to be games that's ranked pretty high.
Yeah, I'm excited to know what you got because I have a feeling what your top 3 might be.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Okay, with that being said, here are our top 10. Do you want me to start?
Sure.
All right, so my number 10 is a two-player game. It has to deal with camels, and that is Jaipur. Jaipur is a pretty simple set collection game. All you need to really think of it as you're taking cards from a general area, and you're trying to create sets of 3 or more. You're going to exchange those for coins, and then there's almost like a diminishing value of whatever coin is per the good that you take. And there's certain different values of either the red cards, the blue cards, the gold cards, and then any of those like smaller goods. But this is a very simple game.
Yeah.
It gives you enough kick, and I think we did a review of this, so you can check that out too. But Jaipur is a very solid game, rounding out my top 10. So this is my number 10, Jaipur.
Cool. Nice. So my number 10 is a surprise to me, actually, when I was doing the Pub Meeple. I was like, oh, this made it to my list. It's a game I do like. It's a game we reviewed. It is Sky Team.
Oh.
So, Sky Team is a 2-player co-op game in which you're working together to land a plane.
Okay.
Non-verbally communicating using dice placement as your core mechanism in the game. I know it's a game that was pretty popular last year, and I didn't think I would like it, but I always want to give 2-player games a try, and tried it and really enjoyed it. Really enjoyed the additional modules that the game comes in with, which is a lot to the game. And a lot of 2-player games don't do that. And it was really smart because 2-player games, you run the risk of not having enough there for replayability value aspect. And Sky Team really skirts that by adding in those modules. So I was really taken by it.
Yeah, I know. I thought based on the review that we had that I liked it more than you did. So I'm surprised this made your list. Yeah.
This like comparing it against the 2-player games that I had, and I like a lot of 2-player games. I really enjoy that it doesn't get I don't see it getting old for me as much as other 2-player games.
Okay, that's a fair point. Nice.
So Sky Team is my number 10.
Oh, that's a good one. My number 9, I know I like this game more than you did when we did the review. This is Sky Team. Nice. So, like everything kind of what you said. It has that replayability of using the different modules, different airports. You can add in different little mechanisms in there that kind of just adjust it to make it just a little bit more complicated if
Yeah.
you wanted to, or make it easier if you wanted to. But yeah, Sky Team is a great cooperative game. It might possibly be my favorite two-player cooperative game on this list.
Yeah, same.
And it's hard to do, I think, co-op as a two-player game.
Yeah.
Sometimes you would want more people to kind of like bounce ideas off of. But the Sky Team is a very solid two-player game.
Yeah.
If you can, just check out our review again further.
Yeah. And any review that we've done for two-player month, we're going to add in the description for the video, so check those out.
Yeah.
So number 9 for me is a game that came out this year. I was really surprised by how much I enjoyed it. This is Match of the Century.
Wow.
Yeah.
Match of the Century made your list.
Yeah, I love two-player games that has a tug-of-war aspect to it. I really do like that in two-player games.
Okay.
It's probably why I'm attracted to those type of games, just two-player games in general. And this one does a really good job of adding in card play with that tug-of-war aspect in which you play a card and you utilize two different aspects of that card.
Right.
And you're anticipating what your opponent's going to do so you can utilize one or the other to control your section of the board where you are on the board. I kind of really like the card play aspect of it.
Yeah.
I like that it does this clever thing, which I like, where you don't have a huge deck. You're really replaying the same cards over and over again. But they have two different sides.
Right.
And even on those two different sides, they have two different options on per side. I really like that.
Some of them give you effects based on what side you're using.
Yeah. It's not a lot of
Mm-hmm.
cards, but there's a lot of value within those cards in terms of playing
Indeed.
them. Really like that. So really taken by it. So Match of the Century is my number 9.
Yeah, it's a good choice. Good choice. All right. My number 8 is a game that you haven't played yet. This is a game that I had watched a video way back when by, I believe it was Thinker Themer. And I think it's Amy from Thinker Themer had put it as one of her number 1 two-player games for some year. And that's why me and Jen, my wife, tried it at Dice Tower East last year, and why I liked it so much. This is Kahuna. Kahuna is an island control game. What you're trying to do is you have cards for the different islands in your hand, and what you could do on your turn is you have a shared. There's 3 cards out in the area. You can take one of the cards into your hand, or you could play a card into your out onto the board. That card you can then build a bridge from that island, which on that card, to an adjacent island. If you ever have a majority of the bridges off of that island, you gain control of that island, meaning that you remove all of your opponent's bridges from that island. You immediately take that island. If somehow your opponent has bridges to other islands and they already have majority, and you remove those bridges, you actually remove their majority. So it's like almost like a cascading effect. So it's like you want to try to plan ahead. And whenever you play a card, you can choose not to play a card. You can choose to not play a card and then just draw a card. But you can never have more than 5 cards in your hand. So at some point, you can cascade 5 different cards out if you wanted to. And then play it out. So you're going to play 3 rounds of this. At the end of each round, when the deck is depleted, you're going to score based on majority. And the first round is only 1 point. Second round is only 2 points per every majority you have. And then the very end, it's the difference in majorities that you have. That's your score. So then you have almost like you can catch up somehow if you end up losing the first 2 rounds. But Kahuna is a great game. It's part of the Cosmos 2-player line, which has a lot of cool, a lot of cool 2-player games. You may see another one on this list, but yeah, that's my number 8. That's Kahuna.
Nice, sounds interesting.
Yeah.
My number 8 is another game that we reviewed for two-player month. Another game that I was pretty surprised by. I didn't think I was gonna like it as much. The Splendor Duel.
Ah, nice.
Yeah, I typically don't like spin-off games of popular series. Generally, I lose interest. Like, I'm not going to pick on a game, but it's like they'll take a popular game. There's a roll and write version of it. There's a 2-player version of it. There's a name it. They'll make a new version of that game.
Card game version of it.
Card game, dice. I'm not generally not interested in those. I don't want to say I steer clear of it, but don't generally pick those up. But you have Splendor Duel, and I wanted to check it out for 2-player month to play everything that we have. And I was pessimistic of the new rules that they add into it for Splendor to make it different from regular Splendor. But the playthrough that we had of it kind of really changed my mind on that. I thought the new rules that they added into it made the game more interesting for me.
Oh, nice. Okay.
We had the opposite aspect of it, using that the new board and how you pick up disc and how that works. I thought that was really cool. I thought the scroll thing that goes back and forth based off of what you do, and it gives you or the opponent specific
just
things.
Take free. Yep.
Yeah, I thought that adds an interesting wrinkle to the game. I just thought it was more interesting, and it kind of really surprised me, which is why it's on my list at number 8.
Yeah, like I know you like Splendor Duel more than I did.
Yeah,
because I still like the base better, but it does create a more gamery version of Splendor, which if you're feeling it for 2 players, definitely is a very good option to have.
Yeah.
All right, nice. So my number 7 is a game I again first played at Dice Tower East last year. And it's a pretty simple game to deal with a bed and some cats. This is Boop. Boop is weird.
Yeah, it's a weird game. It's cool though.
Yeah, so like the idea is that you're trying to create a line of 3 cats on your bed. But in order to do that, you only start off with 8 kittens.
Yeah.
You need to have kittens upgraded into 1 cat if you line up 3 kittens in a row on the bed. But the issue is that whenever you place a kitten next to another kitten, it'll boop it. So it'll push it one square away, whether it's diagonally or orthogonally. So you want to try to push your kittens so that they line up in a line of 3. If that happens, you can remove the 3 kittens and then replace it with 1 cat in your supply. You'll keep playing until you somehow can get 3 cats and then line up 3 cats together and win the game.
Yeah.
But the issue is that kittens don't boop cats, and cats can boop both kittens and cats. If you somehow also get all 8 of your kittens on the board, you can remove 1 for a cat also from your supply. But this is a very, like abstract kind of game. You're just kind of like trying to position your pieces into different places by kind of sliding them across. But I think like that added level of like just like cats booping each other. Because every time you play this, and a lot of other reviewers will say the same thing, is that you'll add a kitten, you'll move the other kitten, but you'll be like boop, boop. And if they ever fall off the side of the board, they fall off the bed, which is like pretty funny already. So this is a fun game. I highly recommend it. It's great fun. This is Boop, my number 7.
Nice. Yeah, Boop is a great choice. It's very casual and just fun. It does a great job of just kind of ingratiating you to the game and the theme, and just kind of not taking it too seriously.
You feel like you just don't want to play just one game after it. You'll be like, okay, I played it, let's try it again. Yeah,
it's very easygoing and casual and knows what it is. Yeah. Which is kind of cool. My number 7 is another crossover.
Oh, really?
My 7 is Jaipur.
You did love Jaipur.
I really enjoyed Jaipur. I actually thought it would be higher on my list. But I like the games that's higher way more than Jaipur. But still a really, really great game. It's gives you a really fun choice. And I know you mentioned to discuss the actions in what you have, which is really just taking cards, taking multiple cards, replacing them, taking 1 card taken from the deck, taking the camels, or just buying coins.
Yeah, yep.
Which is really simple, but I like when you can make that choice, how it impacts the other player. Like when you take all the camels.
Right.
When you replace all the cards. When you put all the camels back on there for your opponents to take.
Right.
When do you solve? That's really the choice in Jaipur when you do things, not if you can.
And I believe camels give you a victory condition, right? If you have the most camels, I believe you get some sort of victory at the end of that too. So like it kind of incentivizes late game camels too.
Yeah, and then it turns to you trying to get rid of your camels at the end, trying to take all the camels.
Yeah.
It's cool. I like Jaipur. I really like the decision making in that game, and that's why it's on.
For a game that's just cards and little tokens for victory, like it's a very solid game.
Yeah, cool. Yeah. That's not my number 7.
Nice. My number 6 is a game I don't believe you've played yet, but I played it a couple times. I don't own the game, but growing up, I really enjoyed chess. Chess was like the game that I grew up with. And this game is very similar in that regard. This is Onitama. Onitama is I want to say, one step possibly laterally from chess. So you don't have as many pieces. So you start with 5 pieces on each side. And the goal is you're either trying to capture your opponent's, I guess, king, if you could say, or you're trying to get your king to the other king's square. All right, so you have 2 ways of winning this game. And in doing so, you are only dealing 5 cards from this deck. This deck has these little animal names on them, and it's a movement on each of the cards. So it'll show a piece, and it'll show how it moves. So it'll show that it can go up 1 square and 2 squares over, kind of like a knight, or it can go 2 squares diagonally, right? The issue with that is that once you play a card, it goes into the shared pile. So they'll deal 5 cards. You and your opponent will each get 2, and that'll be 1 shared one. Whenever any player plays their card, that goes to the shared, and then you take whatever the shared card is. Your opponent will then take it next turn. So basically, it's that idea of whatever movement I'm going to do, I'm giving to my opponent. And I don't know if I'm going to get that back.
Yeah.
So there might be some games where you might be unable to move forward. You can only move laterally or backwards. And it might be a way to stall your opponent out while you can keep moving forward. This game is great. I love almost the tactical nature of the movement. And you're trying to figure out okay, if I can move 2 diagonal, and then I know you're going to give me this card next turn, then I can capture your king 2 turns from now.
Yeah.
This is a great game. I would definitely see if you like chess, definitely check this out. This is my number 6, Onitama.
Nice. Cool. My number 6 is, I don't think this is going to be on the list at all, but this is a game that's kind of, for me, I love deduction style games, and I thought this was a cool deduction 2-player game. This is Mr. Jack Pocket.
Wow.
I never
this
played.
Came 6.
Yeah, this came 6. I never played an actual Mr. Jack game.
Okay.
This is the only one I played, but it's one I really enjoy. If you've never played Mr. Jack Pocket, essentially you have a small square board, in which there are characters: Mr. Jack, his assistant, think of it as Watson, and then a dog.
Yeah.
And you have 8 actions, and those actions are shared between you and your opponent. If you're playing Mr. Jack, you're trying to solve a murder or something. Solve who did something. And the opponent is trying to get you to not solve it. And you all control 8 actions in a round. And once you go back and forth choosing those actions, but once it's chosen, if I choose an action, you then can't choose the same action. You have to choose the remaining 7 actions.
Right.
And those actions, you're all controlling the same 3 people. Mr. Jack, his assistant, and the dog moving around the board or moving the tiles around.
Right, you're moving some of the witnesses or the suspects around.
Yep, you're trying to.
I remember this.
Yeah. You're moving them around to show their line of sight to see something. And you're trying. If you're playing Mr. Jack, you want to get them to see as many things as possible in their line of sight. And if you're playing the opponent, you're trying to limit what you can see.
Gotcha.
And I really, really enjoy this game. I really like not just the movement aspect, that's cool. I like that you share 8 actions.
I see.
And the fun in the game is when your opponent chooses an action, you're thinking, why did they not want me to have that action available? Because once they choose it, you can't do it.
Right.
So there's a lot of, why did you do that? Usually in games like this, there's why did you do that? In this game, it's why did you not want me to do that?
I see.
Which is kind of a cool aspect of it, which is why I really enjoy it.
Yeah, I remember just playing this and thinking it was very difficult for me to kind of get get ahead of you or like try to like avoid you finding certain piece of information for the board. It's not on my list, but I think I need to replay this a couple more times to kind of like get that feeling again, because for a deduction game it was pretty solid, but it wasn't enough to make my top 10.
Yeah, no, totally get it. But yeah, that's my number 6, Mr. Jack Pocket.
Nice. All right, sweet. My number 5. I have a feeling this is on your list somewhere. This has got to be. If not, this is gonna be ridiculous. This is another Cosmos 2-player game. This is Targi. This is a game that we just discovered this year. Yeah. And we've played this a good chunk of times, I think, at this point. We played it almost to death. Yeah. Off of what we saw. Targi, it's pretty abstract in what it is. It's like a worker placement tableau building type of game. And the idea is that you're just trying to, get your crossings to give you the best combination of resources and tribe cards. And you're trying to outrace your opponent to either finishing or getting the most amount in your tableau for points. It's kind of brain burning in the sense that you're trying to figure out how to cross the lines perfectly, but you run into a lot of issues when your opponent places their pieces on the board. Yeah. But I think that's where the beauty of Targi comes from, is that you need to pick what you think is your optimal, and then when your opponent screws that up, you need to put the secondary. Yeah. And then that idea of that robber moving around and limiting your spaces, along with just like flipping over different types of cards and finding different ways to draw cards or resources. I think Targi is a really well-designed game, and well-deserved this spot. This is my number 5, Targi. Nice.
Good choice. My number 5 is a 2-player game, which we did review as well, and one that I really enjoy, the unique aspect of what you can do with its sort of expansions, new card that it comes with. This is Summoner Wars.
Number 5?
Number 5.
Oh, okay.
I like this game. I like the different decks that you can get and how it changes the rule sets. Okay. With each deck that you get. And it's still with each deck, because we've been playing the app version of it, I've been definitely checking out a lot of the different characters or different factions, is how different they can be but still work within the rule set of the game. I think that's pretty rare. I think usually we get to a point where it's not as interesting, or it's like variations of the same thing. Right. This one is still, each faction is still fairly unique, at least the ones that I have played. And I like the board aspect of the game too. It feels like a very not simplified but streamlined version of Magic the Gathering. I see. That adds card board. That's board movement. And card movement. And I actually really like that. It makes it more interesting to me than Magic the Gathering. Okay. Nice. But yeah, that's Magic. Oh, it's not Magic the Gathering. That's Summoner Wars. That's my number 5. Oh yeah, Summoner Wars is pretty good. All right, my number 4 is probably the oldest game that I have on this list. This is chess. When I mentioned chess before. When I mentioned Onitama, it's because chess is my number 4. I grew up with chess. My dad taught me chess. I still have his specialized board from the Philippines here with me. I still play a daily chess puzzle on chess.com. I will be down for any chess game that comes, any game of chess that anyone wants to play. Chess is just an abstract game in its simplicity, and I feel like the hobby as a whole has grown away from chess, but I feel like chess still has a viability now in terms of kind of bringing people into what an abstract game can be. Just because it's been here for so long, it's simplified actions, and it's kind of like a basis for a lot of abstract movement games nowadays, I want to say. Yeah. And there's a lot of themes, like Match of the Century has the chess theme, Onitama has a chess type theme. But what I've noticed, I'm gonna maybe spoil a little bit for whatever's on my list, but I love movement on a board for a 2-player game. If I can't visualize in front of me what movement is, to me, I don't enjoy that type of game. And it all really stems from this game. So that's why this is my number 4. This is chess. Cool. Nice. That's a good choice. My number 4 is a game that you absolutely hate that I really enjoy.
I doubt that.
This is Radlands.
I don't utterly hate this game.
You just like it.
Yeah, I do. I'm in the minority, but I do.
I know. It's. I keep saying it every time we discuss it, and it still amazes me every time when I do rankings, and it's still this high on my list.
I can't believe it's only your 4. You love this game so much. I thought it'd be your 1.
I
really thought it was your 1.
I don't love this game. So this game has a lot of things in it that I normally hate in board games, and for some reason, I still really enjoy this game. And I think the part of I'm a thematic gamer. I love theme in games, and the closer you can get to that theme in a good rule set, for me, really makes me enjoy a game more.
Yeah.
And I think Radlands achieves that very well. It's kind of this Mad Max with a Mad Max theme with a cyberpunk color scheme.
Yeah.
Of this
like a
neon,
bright
neon pink and
purple.
purple color theme with a Mad Max Road Warrior sort of theme to it.
Yeah.
In which the main resource is water, and that how water is so rare, and you're really fighting for water to even do anything on a turn by turn basis.
Right.
And that you could pull out these punks with the mohawk and the glasses and just use them as fodder in your tableau.
Yeah.
I kind of like that stuff. Normally, what I mentioned the water is super frustrating in this game, in which you can sometimes get into a turn in which you're just trying to recycle out things to even do anything that benefits you. I normally absolutely hate that in game, and that's like a no-go for me in the game.
I see.
For this game, for some reason, on a play-by-play basis, it either kind of annoys me, or I'm like, I can deal with this.
Yeah.
I enjoy this. And I don't know what it is about it. I can't even articulate properly why I enjoy this game as much as I do.
Yeah.
But I really do. And
I mean,
that's
you're
why
not the only one. I feel like the Radlands is a very popular game nowadays, especially among 2-player gamers specifically. And they just absolutely adore this game.
Yeah, it's the best cyberpunk theme-ish game. And I don't want to say this is a cyberpunk theme. It's just a color theme for it.
Yeah.
But it's the best game that I played with that color scheme. So yeah, my number 4, Radlands.
Nice. Radlands is a good choice. My number 3, I really think we're going to cross over on these final 3.
I think so too.
I have a feeling.
Yeah.
My number 3 is a I forget who the publisher is, but it's the theme of it really struck with me because it felt like I was I really feel like I was living in the Watergate scandal.
Yeah.
This is Watergate.
Yeah.
Watergate is a game where either you're playing Nixon or you're playing reporters or newspaper reporters trying to figure out the conspiracy and everything. And Nixon wins by getting their red piece. I forget what it's called, but they get it to 5. And then the reporters they win by connecting two of his conspirators to him.
Yeah.
And it's done by playing cards. And the cards are, I love multi-use cards in games. Yeah. So when you draw from these cards, they can do a variety of things. They can move a specific type of influence, or I believe it's a thing that lets you go first in a round, or it lets you do a special ability if you're a reporter at a certain level. But not only that, but you can also move files that are different colors. And you're trying to use these files to connect to those conspirators to Nixon.
Yeah.
And it's basically a tug of war of Nixon's basically trying to end the game as fast as they can.
Yeah.
Whereas the reporters are trying to stall it out as long as they can so that they can get as many pieces connected. Because the reporters' effects, the further along the game, gets so much stronger.
Yeah.
Right? Because you have one of these reporters can remove conspirators from Nixon's hand if they play him at the same time. And that, there's just so many things that kind of add theme, in my opinion, to this game that make me feel like, oh man, this is such a good game.
Yeah.
I love personally playing Nixon because I want to try to get out of the scandal. I never win as Nixon.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever won as Nixon. I
Yeah.
played a couple times as the reporters, and I've won with those. But like it feels a little unbalanced slightly. But I think really like if you can get it switched over so that Nixon can draw 5 cards as opposed to the reporters, I think you can shift it. But this game is great. This is my number 3, Watergate.
Nice. That's a great choice. Might have more to say about that later.
Oh, really?
So my number 3 is another game that surprised me. You'll see that there's a lot of games on the list that surprised me, which makes me really glad that we went
I'm surprised at your list.
Yeah?
I'm surprised some of these added up and made it this high.
I'm surprised where these landed too, and I'm just kind of glad that we played through a lot of games that were 2 players. So
Yeah.
because a lot of these on my list, if you asked me a month or 2 ago, wouldn't have been here. And this is one of those games. And this is Sobek.
No friggin' way.
Yeah, Sobek is number 3
Oh my
on my list.
gosh.
Yeah,
Sobek is 3?
Yeah, Sobek is 3. Yeah, we played this very recently.
Wow.
Played it a couple times, and yeah, this is number 3 on my list.
Sobek is 3.
This is designed by, which I can safely say
Wow.
at this point is probably my favorite designer, Bruno Cathala. There's not a lot of Bruno Cathala. I haven't played a Bruno Cathala game that I disliked yet. Even the games that I don't like as much, it's like, okay, I can see what this is. There's always like a unique action that you can do, a unique thing with the actions. And it's always in a simplified rule set in which that unique thing is really amplified.
Yeah.
That you focus on that. It's very streamlined, his games.
Okay.
It's what I really enjoy about kind of his designs in general. And Sobek has that idea in which you're really just set collected. But the hook of it is the Ankh piece that changes directions. It determines what pieces your opponent can take as well.
Yeah.
And there are card abilities in it. There are the selling aspect of it.
Right.
Is
It's
really
like set
cool.
collection with smelling. Yeah.
And it does that thing that you mentioned with Watergate, which I'm starting to realize I really enjoy in game as well, is in which you could take something and you could use it for multiple things. You don't have to use it specifically for what it's normally used for.
Okay.
And I actually really like that aspect of the game too. And then the good thing about that is that it keeps the game more interesting in terms of your choices without overcomplicating it.
Yeah.
And I feel like Cathala as a designer, his philosophy really is about streamlining and simplifying.
Right.
And I really enjoy that in board games.
Yeah, that's a fair point. So Sobek just missed my list.
Yeah.
I'm surprised it's at your 3. I can't believe
I
it's at
really
3.
enjoy. Yeah, this is one of my favorites. But yeah, that's
3.
my number 3, Sobek.
3.
Yeah.
I didn't think you liked it that much. That's astounding to me. Oh man, my mind's blown right now. Okay, my number 2, I believe, is a Bruno Cathala game.
Nice.
And this might be one of the most popular 2-player games, if not the most popular 2-player game out there right now. This is Seven Wonders Duel. I can't really say much more about Seven Wonders Duel that hasn't been already said somewhere out there in the YouTube world. But I just love the design of this game.
Yeah.
You're basically just taking cards from like a different shape, and every time you take the 2 cards underneath the card that's flipped backwards, you'll flip it over. And you're just trying to create an engine that gives you the most amount of victory points, or you're trying to win in the military, or you're trying to win in science. But there's 3 different ways that you can win this game. If this goes back to Bruno Cathala, he loves having different ways of winning games that are very streamlined, and I really love designs like that. Because a lot of the times you could be like, oh, I'm going to go heavy into points, which is at the end of the game.
Yeah.
But if my opponent starts getting these military cards, these red cards, it's pushing this little piece backwards. And if it gets to the very end of this track, I immediately lose.
Yeah.
And not only that, but if it gets to a certain point on that military track, I would lose money basically on each one. So I can't buy certain things. And you have resources that you need to buy for cards. If you don't have the resource, you need to pay back to the bank 2 plus each one that your opponent has. So you want to try to maybe get cards that are left out that your opponent can't afford, so that they have to toss it for money. It's a beautifully designed game, and one that I will keep playing for years on end. This is such a good game. This is Seven Wonders Duel.
Nice, good choice. Seven Wonders Duel is not on my list.
What?
Yeah. Out of all,
it was your one Bruno Catala game.
out of all the Bruno Catala games we played,
How dare you?
this is probably my least favorite.
What?
I do like Seven Wonders Duel. Don't get me wrong.
Oh, you love this.
I like it. There's no Bruno Catala game that we played that I dislike, but
thought
it is at the
crossed over
bottom.
you. There's no way.
Yeah, it's not. I
Oh my God,
like
Bruno. I'm sorry, Bruno.
I like like we mentioned before with Bruno Catala games. It's streamlined and it simplifies the game without losing any of its complexity. And I love that you pick from the tableau, and then it really signifies, determines what your opponent can take and when they should take it. It just, how it scores and the set collection aspect of it is not as interesting to me as the set collection in other Cathala games.
Okay.
That's kind of where the knock is for me with Seven Wonders. I still think this is a great game.
Yeah.
It's just a good game. It's just not,
Right. Well, now I know that you don't like it, I'm going to keep going a little bit. So,
No, go
this simplifies Seven Wonders so well.
It does, yeah.
Like that, instead of having to check constantly with your neighbors for, different, majorities, this simplifies it just like, do I beat you on this? Do I beat you on that? And to me, it's a very streamlined version of Seven Wonders. I would play this over Seven Wonders, even if I had more people. I would say, like, the four of you can play another game. I'll play this 2-player. I love this game. This game's so good too. Okay. All right. Wow.
Yeah.
I thought this was your 2 or 1.
Oh, wow.
That is astounding.
Okay. Well,
wow.
I should get into my 2 then. So my 2 is a crossover.
I don't know what your 2 are anymore. I don't.
My number 2 is Targi.
Okay.
Yeah.
There you go.
Targi is a game that is, you mentioned before, it's a worker placement 2-player game, and I really am astounded at how it achieved being a worker placement 2-player game that is this good.
Okay.
Because most worker placement games can be played at 2-player, but they're never good at a 2-player. They're way too open.
Okay.
And you can essentially do whatever you want, and it's just a race at that point.
Right.
Where most worker placement game. This solves it by having what you can choose being between where you put your workers.
I see.
And there's not as many options as you think, because your opponent's going to be placing their worker around the board as well.
Right.
And it's going to mess up what you can do. It's still giving you that tightness of a 2-player game and the tactical feeling of, my opponent did something that messes up what I was planning on doing. Now I've got to figure out what's the best option right here.
Yep.
And I really enjoy that. And it adds the tableau building aspect of it, in which you score based off of the tableau that you build.
Yeah.
And it makes it what you get from the worker placement even that more important.
Yeah.
Because usually worker placement games are just a set collection and then you sell it.
Yeah.
This is a worker placement game mixed with a tableau, and I really enjoy that aspect of it. I think it's really cool.
Yeah, so that's one of the great things too about this game is that your opponent might be able to block you on certain things, but it's not that punishing.
No.
You have ways of mitigating around that in multiple different ways.
Yeah, it's really asking
and
you
it comes at
tactical.
a very minor cost, if anything.
Yeah.
That's one of the beauties of this game, is just that variety of how you can do certain things.
Yeah, I think it might be one of the best worker placement games in general, not just 2-player game. Because if a worker placement game, the reason why it's good is because it's asking you to be incredibly tactical in your decision making. This is probably the best one in terms of being tactical, because you're not penalized. You're not taking something that's going to be useless to you.
Right.
It's just, now I have to change my strategy. Really enjoy that.
Nice.
But yeah, cool.
Solid number.
Yeah, that's my number 2.
I thought I knew your number 1. I don't know. Okay, before I go into my number 1, I'm going to talk about 3 honorable mentions that did not make this list. We already talked about Sobek. It's surprising it was his number 3. You could look back at the video for that. Battle of Versailles was my number 12. We haven't played it, honestly, as much as we would want to.
Yeah.
It was very solid. I could see it breaking into the top 10 at some point. But It was just a little too difficult to get out to play with all the setup. 13 was Android Netrunner. That's the one. I learned this from my friend in Taiwan back in like 2011, and that game stuck with me for this long. It's a game that's really hard to find, but it has a solid idea of you're either a corporation or you're a hacker. And you're trying to hack into the secrets before the corporation can get their products out.
Nice.
Solid game. I wish I definitely, if I played that more, it would made the list. I don't have Magic on here, but Magic would probably make the list. I just didn't think about it actually. But yeah, those are my like 3 or 4 honorable mentions on there.
I think I know what your number 1 is actually.
Yeah. My number 1, or shall you want me to go right to my number 1?
Oh, no.
You want to do your honorable?
Sure, I can go through my honorable as well. So, my honorable mentions, I know you mentioned Magic the Gathering. Well, my honorable mention is, one of them is Yu-Gi-Oh! Love Yu-Gi-Oh! It's one of the first card games I've ever played. Really got into the deck building aspect of it. I had a mean water deck, which was insane. But yeah, I really enjoyed Yu-Gi-Oh!
Water decks killed me all the time.
I think it's probably the board game. If it's considered a board card game, is the game that I put the most hours into.
Okay. I put a lot
as a
of
kid.
Yu-Gi-Oh!
Yeah, Yu-Gi-Oh! Is definitely up there. Next one is Raptor. Really enjoyed Raptor.
Really?
Another Cthulhu game. It barely missed the list.
7 Wonders Duel, man.
I think I enjoy Raptors more than 7 Wonders Duel. I know I'm in the minority.
Yeah.
But I really enjoy the...
I'm just astounded. That's why. I was like, my jaw's on the floor right now.
Yeah.
That 7 Wonders is
I guess I kept that under the vest, but
Yeah.
we never really
I know.
played it.
I thought you liked it, but I guess
did,
not.
yeah.
I guess
Oh,
I don't know you.
I enjoy 7 Wonders Duel. It is in my honorable mentions.
Okay.
It's just not
Fair.
on the list. But yeah, Raptor and 7 Wonders Duel as Cthulhu games is on my honorable mentions.
Yeah.
Another 2 games that I really debated whether or not that should be added in here, and these 2 games I think are fairly similar, is Battle of Versailles and Caper Europe. I think both of those games are similar in terms of the...
I thought Caper Europe was your top 10.
Oh yeah, it almost made it.
You loved it when we played
I enjoy it. I think that I want... And I'm not a movement guy in my 2-player games. I think if you're not going to have that much movement, that the choices that you have need to be a little bit more interesting.
Okay.
And I think Caper Europe got the tug of war aspect of it that I really enjoy. So does Battle of Versailles. But it doesn't have the complexity in options that I would like in a non-movement based game.
Okay. That's fair.
But I still love the tug of war aspect of both of those games. But they just barely missed my list.
Okay.
But yeah, those are my honorable mentions. So
Nice.
Yeah.
All right. My number 1 kind of encompasses all the reasons why I love my top 10. It's like an abstract-y kind of game, I guess you could say it. It has movement on a board. It has special abilities pertaining to each of the cards that is on there. I said I love this game when we did the review of this. That still pertains here. This is my number 1. This is Summoner Wars. Summoner Wars just keeps hitting. Every time I pull this out, it just feels different. And that's what I love about like my favorite games, is that I can come back to the game and it feels like I'm playing a whole different strategy. I can feel like I'm playing a different opponent.
Yeah.
It gives me that idea of like I need to set up something and I need to kind of explore out and to finish my goal, and that's to defeat your summoner. And in order to do that, I need to figure out my combination of cards that gives me the best kind of movement in order to give me the best kind of attacking ability. And each deck that has come out has been just feels different.
Yeah.
I think the one that I played most recently was the Wayfarers or the Travelers, where you have to try to get all the way to the very end of the board, and the more pieces you have on your opponent's side of the board, the more damage you do for your summoner. But you're also putting your summoner at risk by putting them closer, putting your summoner closer to your opponent's side. So like it's got the balancing effect of like you can have like a glass cannon or you could have a tank, but like it doesn't do as much damage, or you could have like a self healer. It gives you so many options in this game, and just gives you so many different card effects that combo into each other.
Yeah.
Again, I say I love this game. That still pertains today. This is my number one. This is Summoner Wars.
Nice. Cool. Good choice. Had a feeling it would be your number one, as you said it on the review. That was your favorite 2-player game of all time.
Oh yeah, I think so. I looked at it realistically and was like, there's no choice right now.
I was really curious because that's about how we made our list this month. We played pretty much a ton of 2-player games.
We stuck almost specifically to 2-player, aside from like 1 or 2 other games.
Yeah, so I was really curious if there was going to be any game that knocked Summoner Wars down.
Yeah,
but yeah,
I had to realistically look at it, and I was like, no, this is still Bay.
This is still Bay. Nice, but yeah, my number one is another crossover. It's a game that's on your list. Do you know the game?
Yeah, I don't know this. Okay.
Yeah, this is a game.
This is a game on my list.
This is a game on his list.
Say it's not Summoner Wars.
No, it's a game I enjoy.
Is it Watergate?
It is Watergate.
Oh,
that's my number one game of all time.
Wow.
So
number 2-player.
Yeah, number 1 2-player game of all time.
Okay.
When I first started getting into board games and I was looking at the games, I was like going through, like, honestly, when I first got into board games, I went through like the top 1,000 BGG, going into every game and seeing what I was interested and not interested in.
Yeah.
And I got to Watergate and read what it was about and how it played, and I was like, I want this game. And got it, and I was really even knowing that I wanted the game, I was really struck by the game of how thematically it really captures kind of the Watergate scandal in a way.
Yeah,
playing Nixon, playing the reporters, how you play as Nixon makes sense. You want to win as fast as possible,
right?
And keep everyone quiet, keep it quiet. Really get away squeaky clean and just continue. And as the journalist, you want to dig as much as possible. You want to find people. You want to get them on your side as a source. I thought that was really cool. And I really like the card play aspect of it. It's the main reason why Match of the Century is on my list as well, because it has the same sort of card play, which is kind of, you can use the card for multiple different things.
Right.
And you have a small deck and it's going to recycle out. And I like that because you learn your deck more, and you can anticipate what's coming. And the deck is going to shrink because some cards don't go in your discard pile; it goes away from the game.
Right, like events. Like you have to decide whether the event you want to play is worth it right now. Because like if you see, you're like, oh no, the reporter is about to get their 3rd red piece. Yeah. But like I can't have them have that. Otherwise, I'm in trouble. So yeah, it has some great like tug and pull things. Yeah, and you're always playing kind of like defensively, no matter which side you're playing.
Yeah, and what you're managing, you're managing essentially 3 things in each round, and I like that because it's making you choose which one is more important to me. Yeah, you're managing the pieces that are going back and forth, what's going on the board that's connecting you to the witnesses. You're managing the red piece that if it goes to Nixon, that it makes winning the game faster for him, and managing the white piece, which signifies who goes first the next round, which is important in this game. Yeah. And you have to really choose which one you want to manage each round. Right. And because it's a tug of war, it's going back and forth. Yeah. It's tactical in a way in which if you see your opponent going after something, what you choose and what you want to manage that round changes, because now you're deciding, do I want them to win that? Right. And do I want to use this turn to stop that instead of getting what I want to get? Right. I like that aspect of the game. Yeah. It's good choices.
Yeah, the Watergate's a great game. Yeah. If you haven't gone around to playing it, I'd say,
Oh, 100%
find a copy, go play it.
And it's a political game. It's a game about political history in which it's not political. And I like that too. Yeah, it's just about the scandal. Yeah. It's just about what the scandal was about. What Nixon was trying to do, what the journalist was trying to do. Right. And I like that.
And I like that they added like almost like game mechanics to living out that scenario. Yeah. And it does feel a little more immersive as opposed to most other 2-player games.
And that, like I said before, I'm a super thematic gamer. I love themes in games. Yeah. The more unique the theme is, the more I'm interested, and the more you can capture that unique theme, the more I really enjoy the game. And I think this does a really good job of being a solid game, but also thematic
Right.
and an interesting theme at that.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my number one, Watergate.
Yeah, that's a great choice. All right. Yeah, this is a fun month for us.
Yeah, this
we
was
got
cool.
through. I want to say we went through at least like 25 to 30 2-player games.
Yeah.
Just in this month alone. Most of them were hitting up there on like the top there. So this was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I do want to mention the ones that we didn't play at all.
Oh, that's
that
a
are
good
pretty
point.
popular.
That's a good point.
I know Memoir 44. I think that's 2-player
Oh,
only
yeah,
game.
you're
That's
right. That's
one
on
that
my
I
list.
really want to play.
Yeah.
That's kind of hard to find a little bit.
Yeah.
But
it's
I
hard
do
to dig up.
want to get that game. That's
Yeah.
one that we haven't played.
I know Blitzkrieg
Yes.
is one we haven't played.
Yeah.
Dogfight. I think there's a third one in that.
Is that
Caesar.
Caesar? Yeah.
Yeah, those three we weren't able to find copies of. But we, at some point, if we do this list again, maybe we can get those played if possible.
Yeah.
I will say I wanted to play Rift Force. I feel like Rift Force would have been a good 2-player game.
Yeah.
Personally for my list.
Yeah.
Because I do love elementals in my theming.
Yeah.
Especially. And I feel like I would have liked that one. I didn't play Patchwork. I believe you played Patchwork.
Yeah.
So otherwise I would have possibly had that up there on the list.
I didn't enjoy Patchwork that much.
Yeah. Okay.
But definitely I think you could have.
You think so?
You would maybe like it more than I do. Yeah. For me, other games. Those are the main popular games that are 2-player games that we haven't played. But in terms of whether 2-player games that would have impacted my list, I know Bruno Cathala has a bunch of 2-player games. Other 2-player games, I can't think of those right
I don't know if I'm
now.
my head either.
But I do know he has more 2-player games that we haven't played.
Yeah.
And those might have been on my list because I know Sobek is not one of his most popular games.
Yeah,
But
I
it's
feel like
high
it's
on
very
my list.
average out there, but it's pretty decent. Right?
Yeah,
It's solid.
So my favorite designer probably could have been other games that he's designed as 2-player only. Probably could have been at like the lower end of my list, maybe. But those are the additional games we played that we haven't played that maybe would have impacted our list a little. But for the most part, I think we've gone through most popular 2-player games.
Yeah, for the most part.
Yeah. So
we tried to cover the spread as much as we could with what we have.
Yeah.
But again, there's gonna be holes.
100%.
What can you do?
Yeah. Cool. Well, those are our top 10 2-player games of all time. Let us know your list down below or what games you think we should play. Would really want to.
Let me know if you disagree with Radlands on me. I know. I understand.
Or think Seven Wonders Duel should have been on my list. But yeah, let us know your thoughts down below. See you on the next adventure. I'm
Sorry,
Zell.
Bruno. I'm Mark. Say it.